Welcome to the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands, with your hosts, Mark Ernay and Sean Castles, coming to you from Radio Waves Studios in New York City. Now, let's kick off the show.
Well, hi again, everybody. It's Sean Castles and my co-host Mark Ernay here. We are back with part 2 of talking with Julia and Peter Green about youth soccer, refereeing, and we're just going to dive back into that part of the conversations. I want to switch over to the other side of the coin that you guys have also gotten into reffing as well. You've really seen all of the pitch, if you will, and all of the side of organized soccer here in the States.
It was Julia's idea to take the class and get certified. But really what was happening was there are no referees for AYSO soccer. Club soccer, they pay referees. So you'd have a mom who didn't know anything about soccer with a whistle, and kids were getting hurt. Kids didn't understand offsides because the refs didn't understand it and didn't know how to call it. And what really started happening was Julia started asking me to ref all of her games if the other coach agreed. And as a former high school player, college player, coach, I knew what I was doing, and it created a much better experience for the kids, right?
Yep.
Sometimes parents complained, oh, the ref's married to the other coach, but which I took personally because I'm very ethical. Having either a mom on the sideline, not even running the field with a whistle, kids were getting hurt.
Yeah.
Goals were getting scored when somebody was 50 yards offside. So Julia was like, we should go take the class. So we did the online and we did the in-person. And
also, in order to have an independent soccer team play with the state organization, you actually have to have a contract with a registrar, with a field provider, and a referee. So you have to have contracts with everybody. This is just small town USA. This is me just trying to have a little team and play against some of the bigger teams up in Salt Lake to see if I'm coaching correctly. And I have to have all of these things. And it makes it so much harder for small town USA to get involved because most parents are like, who am I going to call? And I don't have that kind of money. I mean, I'm having to pay a flat rate currently, $15 per hour for the field, plus $5 a head per each kid. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up, especially when I'm not getting paid. I'm not charging these kids more than it costs for their uniform and more than it costs for their field. And I'm still having to charge them. And I hate that. I think that Europe has it right in terms of these kids are out there, they're born with a soccer ball in their hand and they're playing in the fields. They've got fields everywhere and they can play a pickup game.
The clubs are making so much money, they can pass it down, they know it's building the team.
Small town America doesn't have that luxury.
Yeah.
We asked for an audit of the club team because we wanted to know where all the money was going, because it wasn't going into the fields. And so when Julia decided to start her academy and then hopefully have a dark horse football club that will be an independent team rather than part of the group that's already here, she needs a referee. So I said, yes, dear.
Good husband.
Yeah.
Well, because also there's a shortage of referees. I mean, I got called during the AYSO championships to step in and ref, I think, 5 games because they couldn't find anybody to do it.
Whoa.
But again, a small population, they don't pay the refs.
How does one sign up to be a ref? Like, how do someone, like, tomorrow I decided, listen, I'm living in Colorado and I want to ref games, or I'd like to bring that into my repertoire.
Well, you go to the state, Julie, didn't we go to the State Soccer Association?
You go to US Soccer Learning, I think it's .org or .com.
Okay.
And they have an education tab that you can click on that will tell you how to become a ref. Everyone starts at the grassroots level, and they usually have the same information for the coach's licensing available on the website as well. And then there's also another organization where everyone has to get certified, and that's called Safe Sport. And that's to just sort of keep everybody safe.
Well, I mean, Safe Sport is about bullying. It's about looking for abused kids.
Bad behavior.
Yeah, bad behavior with kids.
Well, it's also about knowing medical. I mean, I had to, as an assistant coach and as a ref, and you have to renew that every year. On top of, you have to have background checks run on you,
Yeah.
sadly, in this day and age. And then you just have to make the commitment. Most of the training is online, and then they have teachers literally who came to our town, and we did a couple of 4-hour workshops on the field.
But you guys had to seek this out and find it.
Yes.
There's nothing during the World Cup where the U.S. said,
No.
hey, do you want to get into soccer? This is the website to go to. You want to find and start a team? You want your kid? Like, none of this is out there for the public.
Nope.
No, you have to look it up.
That's maddening.
Julia went in.
We want U.S. soccer to be better, and we want to pay these guys exorbitant amounts of monies just to coach, and they're not getting the grassroots level. It seems like it's held together by tape.
Look, here's part of the other interesting thing. Julia talked a little bit about the guy she coaches with, and she coached with last season in Olympic development. Liverpool, the Premier League team, has an academy in the United States. He oversees 140 teams in the Western states for Liverpool. And they're in Colorado, they're in Utah, and I'm not sure how many other Premier League teams do that. But they see that there's talent in the US. They talked to Julia about having a Liverpool Academy program in our little town.
But cost was exorbitant. And for us, I'll never get a parent's pay more than, a couple $100 because they don't have it. Like I said, just even getting kids to have a priority sport like soccer in a small town, we have we have spring sports, which is mostly soccer. We have summer, we have baseball, we have basketball, football, volleyball. I'm competing for this same pool of kids who are trying every kind of sport.
So the Liverpool, and I hear there's like a Man United up in Columbus, Ohio, but so they also charge too. They're not being...
Yeah, they're pay to play.
Yeah, and it's quite lucrative.
Everyone's got a handout.
Somewhere around $1,400 a kid.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is hitting me here as I'm realizing Liverpool itself was going, hey, we're doing this for free. Let's go to the U.S. and fleece the parents.
And charge them. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They're so fleeced. That's why U.S. soccer is struggling. I mean, we're in an economic holding pattern right now. Everyone's kind of struggling, and we're going to ask them to pay.
Yeah. And you want U.S. soccer to be better. But I got to say, I don't mind a little bit of taxpayer dollars going towards these sports. I think it's a really good thing for kids. It's an outlet. It teaches them things. It teaches them sportsmanship and community.
Much better than where some of the tax money's going.
Absolutely. Into ballrooms.
Well, and look, the other thing, and you guys would knowing the New York sports scene, when you have gifted athletes, right, who are kids and they go into high school, they say they don't do it, but high schools recruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like my partner's son who is being recruited by Duke to play baseball in 8th grade. Right?
You should go there.
So
That's a good person.
And listen,
Amen.
and he probably will. But the fact of the matter is, if he's playing soccer, but you've got someone saying you can get a D1 scholarship if you play baseball, soccer loses the premier athletes because those premier athletes run track and usually play 3 sports.
Yep.
They see more of a path, one, to get their tuition paid, and then, the long shot to play professionally in these other sports. And so you've got gifted athletes, but if they have to choose between soccer and one of the other American sports, they tend to choose one of the other sports, right?
I think it would be amazing to, find other like minds to create something nationally where people could just have a training academy that's at least affordable. And if not affordable, at least has scholarships to offer these kids at the elementary level as they grow through the process. It would just be really nice if there was some way to sustain it. I hate that parents feel fleeced, and I hate that they feel like they have to only do one sport and they have to choose because financially they wouldn't otherwise be able to play. So I would love to see something like that happen, because I think that the more kids that have the opportunity to play and learn, the more they'll fall in love with it and the more they'll grow with it, and it will become their priority sport, and then hence fix what's wrong with US soccer.
I would throw this out there, and I'm just shooting from the hip here, though. While a billionaire is bringing in Pochettino to coach the U.S. team and giving him tons of money, that money might be better spent into building an ecosystem for youth sports and saying, hey, we're going to build soccer up from the ground level with 6 and 7-year-olds and teaching them and giving them free games, free jerseys, free fields to see if they like it and then go from there instead of spending it just at the top and the Berhalters getting tons of money. And it seems that money is and greed is one of the biggest issues in U.S. soccer.
Oh, I mean, it's a big issue in US, period.
Absolutely.
It's not just soccer, but the way that it affects soccer, absolutely. I mean, my husband and I, Peter and I, have 20 acres, and I would turn it into 2 11v11 fields and 3 9v9 fields and 4 7v7 fields, and to give these kids a place to play. I would do it in a heartbeat. But the cost to have the fields leveled and proper drainage and some covering and the turf, it's so incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Unless you can do it yourself, it's really hard to make these kinds of dreams come true. But what you're saying would definitely fix the problem.
Sports is a business, right? The Lakers just sold for $12 billion, right?
Yep.
Our country is a capitalist society, and I don't have a problem with that. But I do think that when you're trying to grow on a national level and play and compete internationally, there has to be something bigger than that. And it's great that the MLS teams have academies, but their academies are really about developing talent to play for them professionally. And I just think our mindset as fans, we've become international fans. Those of us who are soccer fans.
That's where the best teams are to watch. No offense to the MLS, but if you want to watch great elite level soccer outside of the World Cup, you've got to be watching the European teams.
Nobody's watching Italian basketball or Greek leagues.
Bingo.
That exist.
Yep.
You're watching the Olympic teams and their world competitions, but soccer is the one sport with the World Cup and with all the international competitions that's a truly worldwide sport. And I think women's soccer is a great example. Women had fewer sports opportunities 20 years ago than they do now. And soccer is a place that they could play. And it's why our women's teams have been so much more successful than the men's in the World Cup, because the best female athletes were going and playing soccer. They didn't have as many choices.
Yeah.
You had that giant group of little girls who started playing when they were 6 years old.
And the U.S. allows women to play sports, unlike other countries, too. That definitely helps there, too.
Yeah. Look, I think the other thing that is too bad is there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids playing soccer in this country now. When you look at AYSO just in our town, they could have used 12 more coaches this last season. There just weren't enough parents or coaches willing to put the time in. There is the number of kids playing soccer in the US, I think probably rivals other countries now.
Yeah.
But the development of the sport, the nurturing of the sport, the nurturing of the community just isn't there in the same way that it exists for American football and basketball and baseball.
Yeah. I have a question here about how the different leagues form together. Because again, I'm ignorant on this. I know there's the AYSO. I know there's U.S. Soccer. You mentioned the Olympic Development Program. Are these different organizations communicating together? Are they working together, or are they their own separate things?
They're competing against each other more than anything. The regional recreational soccer is AYSO. I know that in some states, AYSO has some traveling club opportunities, but we don't have that here in our little town. We have about 8 to 10 weeks of soccer here in the spring. And then unless your kid makes the club team, the local club team, that's it. They have to travel a half an hour to play with a fall recreational team. Not sure that a lot of families are willing to drive.
Well, look, one of the things Julia did, because we have winter here, right? there's a facility called the Turf Farm, which is an indoor facility where I think they took the turf from an old football field. And rather than disbanding the squirrels, was it with squirrels or was it with your club?
It was the squirrels, yeah.
She went and booked the turf farm 2 days a week for the entire winter and had her team practice during the winter.
And I just had families chip in what they could to help out with the cost.
To help cover the cost of running the turf farm.
And I bet the kids loved it. When I was younger, I was like, I can't wait for football practice. It's an outlet. It's something fun to do. You're with your friends instead of in school.
But again, Julia is one person who's had to take a lot of initiative without any support from the city, the county, the state, the country.
Yeah.
It's been all her on her own, and then I'm backstopping. That's about one person. Julia's from the Go Big or Go Home school of doing everything. And the thing I'd remind you is our son doesn't even play anymore.
Yeah, this is all out of the love of the game.
This is all the love of the game and helping other people's children have opportunities. And that's a big give that sadly in our divided society right now doesn't happen very often. I mean, I don't know how unique we are, but their parents will say to Julia, wait, your son doesn't play and you're still coaching?
I think outside of probably California, New York, and Ohio, this is the standard. You guys are dealing with what most other soccer parents, when their kid says, I like the World Cup, I want to get involved. And as I said earlier, there is nothing online. They didn't do any ads. They didn't do any promotion of this is how you can get your kid involved in soccer. It was here's MLS tickets.
Yeah.
Here's where to watch the Peacock games. Give us money.
Right. It's true. It could have been a big outreach.
It was a huge opportunity, completely lost. I didn't know any of this stuff until talking to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's both inspirational hearing what you guys are telling me, but at the same time, a little demoralizing for U.S. soccer because this is what the U.S. is up against. It's not apathy, it's unaware.
Well, and if you look at Spain, their coach came from youth soccer and they won.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Julia was telling me about one of the Barcelona Academy coaches who's an older guy who never wanted to go and coach at the pro level. He wanted to coach the kids. And so he's had a commitment. You know, this is a guy that could probably be coaching a La Liga team, first division team. But he decided he wanted to train kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of commitment.
And a different kind of joy of watching young kids enjoy themselves and having it's just a better atmosphere, I'm sure, than the intensity of, are we going to win this weekend and will half my players get transferred and yada, yada.
The excitement for me is I had a kid on my team with autism, had a hard time looking at you, but he heard you. He knew what was going on around him. And he was a great runner. Like this kid could run all day and he knew what the mission was. And to watch his dad see him score, I mean, I knew how he felt. I knew how he felt watching his kid succeed.
Yeah. Those are the moments that as a parent you're hoping for that community can give, and football has that ability for community. And it just would be nice if there was more opportunity across the board for everybody. And it sounds like
I just really love sharing that emotion and that experience with other parents that I had when my son succeeded at soccer.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of moments that like make me want to keep doing this. I agree with you in terms of who do we beat on the head and say, listen, you're missing the boat. You're missing the opportunity. Come put your money in America's future and not in players that have potential, but open up that potential, give these kids an opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you go to? It's not like I can go knock on the billionaire's door and say, hey, I need some fields. I got balls. I just need fields.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the post World Cup where Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey and several people came out and were like, there's a problem with youth soccer and it needs to be built there. But then no one threw anything out. Like no one said that we need more youth coaches. We need more training. We need more fields. They just said there's a problem there and then just left it. So no one has given a solution.
Everybody's a critic, but you know what? Shut up unless you've got something to offer.
Yeah.
Don't criticize. Get out here and help us.
Yeah, I mean, Landon Donovan, I'm not knocking Landon. He's a great player. He seems to be a wonderful human being, but you can't just say this is really terrible without, you got money, man. You also got some clout. You can at least drive people attention and awareness towards something
Right.
instead of just throwing out a problem.
Well, look, the other thing is everyone said about this year's men's national team, these are the kids that started playing when they were 5. So we're going to be competitive. It's finally a generation
Yeah.
of players who have played their whole lives. And though we did well in the first couple of games, when we had to really play a world-class European team, we crumbled.
We were nowhere near it. That Belgium game was very disheartening.
I don't pretend to know what we should have done, but
I do.
well, we need to develop more players. We need to raise the level of competition in this country.
2 things here. I'm going to do a pie in the sky. Hey, anything can happen. You can manifest whatever. What would you hope that would happen, that we would see across U Sports to get U.S. soccer to the level it needs to be?
Gosh, if I could take the financial burden out of it and return soccer to the kids in the way that Europe has been playing soccer since they were 3 years old, I would create that environment.
Yeah.
I would make it so that it's easy for everyone to play, that the balls are cost effective, the cleats are cost effective, the coaches are trained. I mean, what I set out to do is first start training coaches
Mm-hmm.
and then bring them and the kids, bring the coaches and the athletes together.
Yeah, because if there's no one to train them, then what's going to happen?
Right. Create the cohesive environment so that the kids that I trained as they grow up, I'll teach them to train the kids that are younger and just let the whole thing morph into what it's supposed to be.
Teachers need to start the school before just filling students in and having people there.
You can't just hand them money, say build a field, and not have people who are equipped to share their knowledge.
Yeah. You'd think private equity and corporate America would understand that, because they do raise that up through, hey, you got to get your college degree and then you're going to have to get an internship and do all these things before you get to the level that you get to be a VP. But I guess that doesn't translate to sports.
Well, there's only like one college, and I think it's like Ohio State or something like that. I mean, don't quote me because I'm probably way off, but there's like one college that does sports specific coach training.
Yeah, that's not good.
Right? You know, you can get your degree in sports, you can get your degree in coaching, but there's nothing that's like sports specific, like to take it to the master level where someone could learn as much as they can learn and then share that information with a group of people that then want to continue to share that. You know, you have to have something to hand down.
That's also, there's not a lot outside of Matarazzo, who's over at Real Sociedad, and he really was from Italy and came over here. There aren't any American coaches anywhere, which is, usually we have tons of NBA coaches, tons of baseball managers, swim coaches. There really aren't any on the international level. Barely in the MLS. Like, we bring in a lot of Europeans and South Americans too to coach the MLS. So it really is dormant there.
Right. Agreed.
Now there's not a pie in the sky. What are some options right now that, hey, Joe Schmo, Cindy Lou can get their kid involved? Like, where would you direct someone who's like, I just want to get my kid involved and just kind of learn of it? I live in North Carolina or I live in Ohio. What are some directions to point people from this podcast?
So you start with a recreational team. You start with something like an AYSO. I think AYSO is like national.
Yeah, it is.
And I think you go to a rec team. You find those little summer camps and you kind of grow from there.
Yeah.
And then you get to a level where you have good ball mastery and your passing and receiving is good and you feel solid with your technical skills. And then you seek out the club teams and you grow with the club teams. That's probably the best way to go. I found Arizona Sports Complex when we were in Phoenix, and I'm sure the internet, Yelp and whatnot can provide other opportunities too. I'm hoping that there's a lot more soccer academies out there, like what I've created, that they can reach out to. And that's really my hope for everyone is you do a little research and do a lot of advocating.
The thing with soccer is you have to, as a parent, you have to be committed. The other thing that I think is unusual is Julia never played soccer. I played and then became a coach. Most coaches have played the sport and learned the sport that way. Julia didn't play soccer. She ran track. And she knows more than most coaches I know. And she never played.
And also shows to us golden oldies that if you want to get involved in soccer, and you can in other ways, you can actually pick it up and go out and learn soccer and coach. Like, you don't have to have had it always in your life.
I'm not going to lie. I've had to learn ball mastery, and I've had to learn receiving, and I had to learn passing, things like that. I don't have to run down the field up and down all day or anything like that. But you do have to be able to give them a little bit of technical examples. You can't just like say, okay, everybody hold up your phone and this is what we're going to do.
Oh, yeah. But I meant even me, like,
You need a little something. You need a little something.
yeah.
But you don't have to be able to run 5 miles in order to show them what to do. I mean, I took restaurant numbers and put them out on the field where they belong and played games with the kids like, okay, who's going to find the 5? What's the 5 do? Those kinds of things. And then they'd have to go out on the field, almost like a musical chairs type of game. I mean, there's things that you can do so that the kids can learn and still have a ton of fun. And you don't have to be an athlete. I mean, it helps, but you don't have to be an athlete to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to be creative, I think.
I think Julie touched on something important, which is American culture is win, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
A big part of this is that these are still kids and you need to let them be kids and you need to let them have fun. I mean, Julia does drills where she brought squirt guns and every player got a squirt gun. Doing things, or there was a thing where they had to jump like frogs or they had to sit on the ground and row, just silly
Yeah.
12-year-old boy things or 10-year-old boy things.
But keep them engaged.
Where they get a laugh
Yeah.
and they get to be kids on top of being competitors. And
Sean, fart humor goes a long way when you're working with 12-year-old boys. I'm happy to share my journey and I'm happy to like help others start their own. So yeah, if they want to go to my little website, they can get my contact information from there and just ask me the questions and I'll give you the straightforward skinny of my experiences. I have a little website. It's called darkhorsefc.com. All of my information's on the website. And if they want to just talk about how they get something started, or if they want to, if they're near rural Vernal, Utah, and they want their kid to play, they can come play. And if I can help just one organization start or one parent with an autistic child that wants to give them that sense of belonging, then yeah, have them reach out. I'm more than happy. I don't do a lot of like Instagramming and all that kind of stuff. I have a little Facebook. I'm old school. I'm like, just reach out. It may be hard, but anything worth doing is hard. If we reached out and if we touched a family or an organization or a billionaire that wants to give us some money to spread the word, then awesome. That we're one step closer to having that global presence that we all hoped the US would have.
Every little piece counts, and it's true. Like, I had such high hopes for the World Cup, and after listening on IG and everything of everybody hashing through why the US didn't do well, none of what you guys said here was touched on. It's not apathy, it's just people aren't aware, people don't know, and they just immediately turn to another sport or something else and say, I'm not going to give that a shot because it's too expensive or too much work.
What she did for our son and what she's doing for these other kids. We live in a small town. We run into all these families all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a town of 8,000 people. So you use the word community a lot, and community is definitely something that's lacking in our country right now. And hope maybe youth sports is a way to help bring us all back together a little bit.
Absolutely. Sports is a great way to do that. It just builds up people like, hey, we have a mutual level, something to talk about or to relate about, which is the whole point. Extremely impressive. And I don't throw that word out. I don't generally call people impressive. Working in film and TV, we see lots of people who throw that out too easily, but this is really impressive and it's fascinating to hear. So I'm really appreciative that you shared these stories with us to share out there.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was our pleasure.
For Mark Renee, I'm Sean Castles. You listen to the Ultra World Podcast.
This has been the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands, with your hosts, Mark Renee and Sean Castles. Our executive producer is Sue Zizza. Mark Renee and Sean Castles are co-producers. David Shin is our master engineer. Assistant producer Avery Gehrig, and I'm Alicia Antwine. To be a guest on the Ultra World Podcast or learn all about sponsorship opportunities, send an email to ultraworldpod@gmail.com. Be sure to follow the show on all the social media platforms at Ultra World Pod. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved, Ultra World Podcast, LLC.